Okay, so here's standard 18, graphing using slope-intercept form. This is on page 13 of the pink packet. This just kind of shows you what exactly we're going to do for standard 18. We'll go ahead and turn the page and get started. Skill number 1, we need to know what slope-intercept form is. The form looks like this: y equals mx plus b, where the y-intercept is going to be this number that usually is on the tail end. It's the number for b. More specifically, it's the number without the x on it. And our slope is going to be the number that's in the m position in the formula here. It stands for m. This is going to be the number with the x. Okay, so we're just going to take a minute and we're going to just identify the m and the b, the slope and the y-intercept, for each of these equations. So the m is going to be the number with the x, and b is going to be the number without the x. So if we can identify those, it'll help us figure out where to start. The y-intercept is where we're going to start, and the slope is going to be how we get to our next point. So that's going to be 4 over 1. That will be our rise and our run, or our rise and our right. And then this will be where we start on the y-axis. Let's slide over here. Our slope is -2 over 1. It doesn't have the over 1, but if it's ever a whole number, I can write over 1. And my b is that number on the backside without the x on it, just the number 3. Okay. The next group here adds in a couple fractions just to throw you off a little bit. The fraction is not always the slope. It's still the slope is the number with the x, and the y-intercept is the number without the x. So m and b. The slope this time is the one with the x, so that's the 1 over 2. And the y-intercept b is the number 3. The number with the x over here, there's no number, there's just a negative sign, which means it's -1 as your slope, which if we wanted to put that into a fraction, it'd be -1 over 1, and our b value would be 1/3. Now that's not a very typical b value. It's just a b value that's trying to make you think about which one is the slope. It's not always the fraction one, and which one is the y-intercept. We actually won't graph any that have a y-intercept of a fraction. Okay? Pause the video and you can turn the page. Hopefully you get the idea there. Turn to page 16. There's a couple questions on the top that you can try on your own. I've turned to page 17, and this is skill number 2. Skill number 2 is still identifying the slope and the y-intercept. It's just identifying it from a graph instead of from the equation. So slope is something that we have done before, where we're going to start on the point that's on the left here, and we're going to count down and then count over. And that's going to be our slope written as a fraction. So if I count down, it's 1, 2, 3 blocks down, so that's -3 as a fraction, and then +2 to the right. Okay. The y-intercept, we've practiced this as well, but it's where our graph meets the y-axis. So here's the y-axis, and our graph meets right here at 2. So the y-intercept is going to be 2. So we're taking 2 previously learned skills and kind of putting them together on one skill. This one doesn't have dots, so I'll start by putting a dot on the y-intercept. Okay, so that y-intercept is at 1. That's going to be my first dot. And then what I'm going to do is slide along the line until the line hits the corner of these small gray boxes, this grid line. So the next one is right here. So to count the slope from the dot to dot, I'm going to go up 1 block and then to the right 2 blocks. So up 1, over 2. Okay, let's practice that again, starting with putting your first dot on the y-axis, the y-intercept. This one is nice because it's right at that number 4. It's kind of hard to see that, but that number 4 is my y-intercept. And then I'll slide along the line here until I hit at a nice corner. There it is. And then I'll count from dot to dot. Looks like I'm going to go down 2 and to the right 3. So that up and down number is going to go on the top, down being negative, and then to the right 3. Okay, there's a couple more, but you can go ahead and pause the video and turn to page 18 if you need, or if you're already good to go. But I'll finish up here with the 3 at the bottom. I'll start with my first dot on the y-axis, and then that number goes directly down into my B. So the y-intercept is 2. That's where it crosses. That's where that first dot went. Then I have to find another dot on my line, which there's a nice dot right here as well. And then I can count the slope between the 2 dots. So between the 2 dots, I'm going to count up 2 over 1. Because I went up, that's going to be positive, and then the 1 on the bottom, because I went to the right 1. Okay, coming right over here, this one crosses at positive 2. So that number goes right down into my y-intercept, my B value. Find another dot, so another nice point where it crosses. It's super tempting to pick this one right here, but it doesn't quite cross at that corner. So one more down right there. I'll go with that dot right there. Okay. And then we've got to count from dot to dot to get my slope. So I'm going to count down and over. Down's going to be negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 5 over 1. Last one. Let's go ahead and put our dot on the y-axis. So that's at 1. Then I'll slide along this way and try to find my other nice point. Oh, it's way down here. Okay, then count from dot to dot. Down. And over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then to the right, 4. Okay, once again, this is a good time to pause the video or stop the video. This is skills 1 and 2. The next video has skills 3 and 4. Turn the page to page 18 to make sure you get some classwork practice.